Hello. It's actually 5:55 on the clock, I just realized, which I have been seeing multiple times today. Oh, wow. I also just put on a subliminal and there's 55 likes. I'm just noticing this all right now. It is raining, so you may hear some rain in the background, perhaps a little thunder, lightning. Yeah, and I have been talking about this like purification and cleanse, detoxing type of phase that seems to be waving through. And I was talking about this the other day also in a recording about that you may be feeling called in some way to purification, or you just kind of went through that, or you will be soon. It will be different perhaps for everyone, but it can look like even just having like being in an area where it's raining a bit. Maybe like you felt called to go out in the rain, or maybe you've just been like feeling called to be around water more, shower more, drink more water, things like this, of this nature. I'm seeing like cold water in some way, so maybe just like washing your face or taking cold showers, using something on your face like frozen cucumber or aloe. Yeah, there's just something about like water and coldness. Maybe you have like a rose quartz or jade roller, or one of those things that you keep in the freezer, or the fridge. Like there's things like this coming through. So fives, a lot of us that pay attention to number, reprogramming or synchronicities, fives can really talk about fast changes. I didn't mean to say fast, I meant to say big changes coming, but I'm sure that wasn't an accident. And the subliminal, that I don't remember choosing this, it was just up on my screen, and it says like fast results, money, rain. I didn't even realize any of this deep programming subliminal for like money, wealth, prosperity. And it's also raining, like I said, in the background. So yeah, lots of rain energy. Elementals can be significant, working with, you may be drawn to like fantasy right now. Books, movies, that's been coming through a lot as well. I just heard like Fairy Isle, or Isle of Fairy. I'm not sure what that is, but yeah, and I'm being taken to places like Wales, Scotland, Ireland, England, that part of the world. The Albion Lightbody has been coming through a lot in some of the Keylontic Science Overflow Patreon recordings. And they say, I keep saying they say, I don't know why that I keep using that phrase. From my research, Albion was the original word for Ireland, I believe. I have to check, to make sure that. Oh yeah, I'm gonna read a little bit. So in the ancient days, the oldest name for England was Albion, England. The names for Scotland in the Celtic languages were also related to Albion, Alba in Scottish Gaelic, Alba in Irish, and Alban in Welsh. This has been coming through, Cornish and Breton so much lately. These names were later anglicized to Albany. And a little bit about the Albion Lightbody. I've been feeling so many elemental re-encryption waves, frequency waves pouring in, as well as, just like interdimensional fae type of communication. So some of you may be having meditative experiences, astral experiences, just knowings, dreams, oracle cards, maybe work with that. There's just runes have been coming through very strongly, which is, connected to Odin. So I will read a little bit about the runes that I was seeing clairvoyantly the other day, as well as I was walking and I looked up the clouds and I saw 2 rune symbols. I didn't realize what they were at first, and I wrote them down, and I had forgotten. And then I had a vision of a different rune, and I looked up that rune, and then I realized the other 2 were also runes. So yeah, so I'll get to that. But I feel like this idea of Albion Lightbody emanation is what I'm hearing. You know, you can take this as an activation if you already feel acclimated to this. Perhaps there's a deepening or more of an integration. So when the Albion Lightbody is activated through the Emerald Order, Cosmic Heart, and fully awakened, by the way, I'm reading from the Ascension Glossary that I will have linked below. And I cut myself off because I didn't even realize this is where we were going with this until it just sort of clicked in, which can be a message for someone. Like, if you've been getting like snippets or, you know, like the cosmic breadcrumb trail, please only take this if it fits for you. But it's like there's an organic unfolding happening. So if you're feeling a little bit hesitant, or like you really want to start something but you feel like you don't have enough, I'm hearing, again, only really take this if it fits for you. I'm hearing to just continue working to trust yourself and to take as little steps as you need, but try and just start, even if it's like the smallest step. Because I remember when I first started doing this, I would be like, I don't have enough information. And then as I just showed up, it was like, it would just click in, you know? So even if you start and you're like, oh, it's not clicking in enough, you know, just start with what you have and just keep practicing that trust, because yeah, I feel very excited for you. So that was just a little side note. Okay, I'm gonna start again. When the Albion, by the way, it's Albion, Lightbody is activated through the Emerald Order, Cosmic Heart, and fully awakened by the Amethyst Order, Holy Father, England, Scotland, Ireland, and France. Yeah, I was saying England, Scotland, Ireland, but instead of France, I think I said Wales. Interesting. Okay, France has also been coming through so much lately in different ways for me. So I remember an important, I didn't mean to say the word important, but I guess it feels important, dream that I had around the time when I had a session with someone who is very deep in the Keylontic science teachings. And it was like, yeah, not long before I had the session with him. And in the session with him, France came up, and I had this dream where I was outside of a place in the south of France. It was like some sort of sacred grounds, like a place of ritual. I can't remember if it was a church, but it had that feel of like, you know, old stone and trees. And a bunch of us were dressed in black, and we were just like laying on the ground, kind of like linking arms. Yeah, so if anyone here has had dreams like that, and you know, they say Mary Magdalene is buried in the south of France in a cave. And I've talked about this recently, where you can Google this if you haven't already, where they say the cave that she's buried in is, if you like look at the pictures, it looks like a vagina from the opening of the cave, which I just love. So you could be connecting with Magdalene energy, or just the Magdalene, the Rose lineage, the Rose Ray, the Cosmic Rose, Mother Mary. There's a lot of different names for certain lineages. You may be called to read books if you haven't already. Maybe some of you have already done this. Marguerite Reguloso is a really great resource for this, as well as Kathleen McGowan, I believe her name is. Those 2 authors are coming through, as well as the Claire Hartsong channeled book, Anna, Grandmother of Jesus. But, you know, please only if you feel called. Okay. Let's see. I left off at France will be the first demographic areas to align to the King Arthur timeline through the rise of Arthur in Albion. Interestingly, I was also laying down yesterday, and I was just sort of staring at the ceiling, listening to the rain, because it was raining yesterday too. And it's hard to explain, but I'll see like what I call the plasma fields, and sort of in like heliotallic spectrum or pastel rainbow lighting, I'll see different shapes, beings kind of bleeding through. Perhaps the word bleeding was a really intense choice of wording, but that's what came through. And there is someone on Instagram who creates these like light language transmissions with AI. I think it's AI, as well as Akashic readings that she translates into art. And she did post something. I have to learn the rules about how you can share things. Like, I don't want to copyright anyone's stuff, but something that she posted like kind of captured what I see, you know. It was really, really beautiful. But yeah, if anyone knows like the rules, if I can share her page or anything like that, but I have to learn how to make that stuff myself. Anyway, and I kept hearing King Tut, and it's funny because like I've never felt called to King Tut before. Like it was so and like the image that I was seeing when I Googled King Tut, it had like a similar like outline. So I will read about King Tut in a minute, but it's interesting that the King Arthur timeline is coming through, and I'm curious to see how that will weave together. So a little bit what they say on the Ascension Glossary about King Arthur, the King Arthur timeline. So it says, reference from historical timeline trigger events, 1400 YA, invasion of UK to take over territory and 11th Stargate. Kill Templar Grail King Arthur and support his team. Oh, and his support team. Someone here may be dyslexic. Sometimes when I'm like reading and I switch the words around. Yeah. Last benevolent Grail King, false king of tyranny, replaces rulership. King Arthur is in stasis in UK. So I've heard this quite often from different sources about stasis and some of the practices that have been utilized throughout centuries, if not longer, of stasis, and how, you know, we're starting to remember more of that. You know, whether we take that literally or metaphorically, I think there's the idea of preservation and, you know, fractalized aspects of ourselves that we preserve in time that are like encoded, like when people talk about utilizing crystals to record and store information, as we activate or reactivate the crystalline consciousness through our own inner being, then, you know, we're able to pull it out of our physical reality as well, like crystals or remembering practices like stasis. So yeah. It goes on to say, this phase of the Ascension timeline awakens the stasis beings that have been buried deep in the lands and brings on oceanic waves of the God Source and the Christos Sophia rainbow rays. Oh, okay. There we go. And I was talking about the heliotallic or pastel rays. Exactly. Or round tables to pour into the earth grids. The Albion Lightbody is the Diamond Sun template. And the Diamond Sun is allegedly when you break down all the different rays. So you may have felt like you've been activating, or you may be just embarking on this experience of, you know, like the violet ray, the pink ray, etc., the emerald ray. And when we integrate all the rays back into the 12-strand crystalline DNA template, or the original angelic template, integrated with the expression of the Diamond Sun. At least that's my take on it. Also, from this perspective, The diamond sun, the Orifeme, is a part of the diamond sun DNA Christos, and the Orifeme have been coming through quite a bit lately as well. Lineages, the original humans created from the guardian founder races lines. The diamond sun refers to the original design of the angelic 12-strand DNA silicate matrix. And I heard someone say today, like, you know, thinking of matrix as it's a design. I think it was, who said that? Michelle from Soul Insights Tarot, I believe. She's awesome. Yeah, so design. This was the potential DNA. Okay, so I'll read a little bit more about the Albion Lightbody. It's the Diamond Sun template of humanity's world soul from Tara as the Christos incarnate masculine feminine identity, and it holds the instruction set of the Paladorian Covenant. The instruction sets, that has also been a very strong theme lately. And the Paladorian Covenant, I'll read a little bit about that. The Paladorian future timelines reveal the fragments of various kinds of bodies, energetic bodies and spiritual bodies that were exploded and became intermixed with the elemental matter. There we go. I knew I was feeling the elemental energy. Substance in the earth body. Timelines from the 5D earth matter. Okay, so which is the future record and destiny of all humankind to return back to their original spiritual home. And from what I've gathered from the Orifeme, it's allegedly like the future version or hybridization, I suppose, at least like re-encrypted consciousness. Of, yeah, like future human templates. Okay, so all of a sudden I'm getting like texts and emails like going crazy. So you may be getting some more notifications. And another thing that I've noticed, like all within like a few days, I lost like a follower or two on Patreon. I don't know if I lost it or something happened with their card. Something happened. The same thing with, I just started using TikTok. Like I lost one or two. Like I just kept seeing different platforms like dropping. And then like a day later, I got like, I don't know, 5 to 7 new followers on Instagram out of nowhere. So there's something about, and not that I sound so silly when I'm talking about social media, but the same thing with my bank account. Like a lot of things felt like it was dropping. And I was like, wow, like I'm calling things in. This is interesting. But I just observed and I just set the intention, you know, to like allow to make space for expansion and whatever's coming in. So you may be going through this or just did or soon will be. Like maybe all of a sudden, yeah, just take it to how it applies. It doesn't have to be in those exact things, but you may feel like things are like leaving and you're just like, whoa, what is happening? But I feel like it's one, just the word ability is coming through, like an ability to hold that faith and trust in the design, in the grand design of things, and space being created, kind of is what feels like is happening. Okay. I left off at the instruction set of the Paladorian Covenant, which is the future record and destiny of all humankind to return back to their original spiritual home, their inner sun star, which is found deep in the Ra center, RA, of the still point in the angelic human light body. And the Ra center, in the individual light body that has been activated, the entire solar plexus area reconfigures the mental body layers into a golden solar gate energy vortice, which is called the Ra center. Essentially, the shield from the 14th chakra is embodied as the still point and runs current into a golden orb. Okay, so fascinating because I've been talking about this mental plane expansion, third eye activation or expansion, Anja center. But for me, it really does come through as like mental plane, PLANE. And I love that this is coming through right now, because I've been sort of asking for a deeper dive into that. And even for myself, the last few days especially, I can notice that my visions are becoming even more clear. Eyes open, eyes closed, doesn't matter. And I was having some pressure in my head the last few weeks, and I'm feeling like that's starting to subside. I even feel like my face is kind of bloated, honestly, and I was still doing like face massage, face yoga, and like drinking water. But yeah, I think I was just purging some things out. And now I'm starting, like today is the first day that I feel like my skin is, or my face is releasing. And like I said yesterday, I was really noticing like how much more like sharp my sight is in terms of like visions and auric field observation. And it came through in my dream state last night as well. I was seeing someone's aura in my dream last night, and it was like so vibrant and clear. It was all violet, like ultraviolet. And then I was seeing images within the aura, and weirdly I was seeing Mario with like the red cap. I don't know if you played Mario, and I was seeing him shapeshift into Ted Mosby from How I Met Your Mother. I'm not even sure what's significant about that yet, but as soon as I said that, I started to get tingles sort of in the high heart, thymus area, a little bit to the right, like almost starting on the right collarbone. I heard clearly masculine magic. So yeah, it's like the masculine polarity internally as well as externally. So it doesn't matter the gender, but in an aspect, an inner aspect, as well as like the karmic lineage patterns or ancestral lineage patterns, and perhaps someone that you're connected to externally as well that holds a lot of masculine energy. That's so beautiful, a masculine magic. Integration, activation, whatever word you'd like to use. And yeah, I already mentioned this before, but I read the other day where someone was commenting, I have no idea who it was, but they were saying like, if anyone talks about like expansion in a spiritual context, then they're just, in their ego. And I was like, oh man, like I talk about expansions all the time. So yeah, if anyone does have that perspective, like I'm curious why, because yeah, I was just thinking about it, and I guess you can look at it from so many ways, right? Like when we have a heightening of our senses in any way, whether they're spiritual or physical, sensual, I guess it's really just like, something that we're letting go of or collapsing. There's different terminology, but it's like if your teeth have plaque on them, you can't really see the plaque, but when you remove the plaque, then your teeth are whiter and brighter. So we can look at it that way too, like we are processing and transmuting miasma or etheric plaque, if you will, and then we can shine brighter and more authentically, allowing our Albion Lightbody, like it says here, to permeate and radiate. I'm just going to read that again. Oh, wow. My cursor accidentally hovered over something. Well, not really accidentally, but I didn't intend to do that. And this is wild. It says the amethyst order, but the visual is so similar. I was just talking about the ultraviolet and violet aura in my dream, and that, this is so similar to what I was seeing. And it says the third emanation. Okay. By the way, I was connecting with the first emanation of the primal sound field earlier today, and then this one is the third. So I love that that's, excuse me, sort of trickling in. The third emanation of the primal sound field, and I was getting that word emanation earlier, which represents the third individuation of the God source, is the amethyst order, a part of the cosmic trinity. It says see threefold founder flame. The third light manifestation of the amethyst order are violet ray orders comprised of CETA, CEAN, Cetacean, I'm sure I'm saying that incorrectly, Avian Pegasus. And I was really feeling those avian lineages coming through, as well as the Pegasus. I keep seeing Pegasus images, so it's all kind of pulling together right now. Oh, and as soon as I said that, I felt this like swirling pool of movement in the heart solar pathway, like maybe 4 inches above the belly button. Wow, it feels so beautiful. So the heart solar pathway up through the mind's eye, that whole like area just feels like it's really beautifully, like kind of like the diamond ray when there's an integration of all the rays. It's like there's an integration of these areas and the layers, the auric layers that are just forming, like I'm just seeing these geometric re-encrypted expressions, you know, pulling in fractals, and it feels so beautiful. I keep saying that word, beautiful. Okay. Where did I leave off? I was talking about the Albion Lightbody as the Diamond Sun template, etc. Of humanity's world soul from Tara as the Christos incarnate masculine feminine identity, and it holds the instruction set of the Paladorian Covenant, which is the future record and destiny of all humankind to return back to their original spiritual home. Their inner sun star, which is found deep in the raw center of the still point in the angelic human light body. There is more, but I will definitely go in. Oh, okay. Geomantic structures in Albion. That's just like a title. And then there's spheres within spheres is another title of each paragraph. So I will read more into this. Oh wow, the Cygnus Constellation Gateway 11th Stargate Network. So we were talking about the 12th Stargate, Arimatina, recently on Patreon. So I had a feeling the 11th was going to come through soon. I didn't know it would be this soon. We were also talking about the solar reshake dimensional expression as well, which always comes through as like a very pure energy for me. So the Cygnus Constellation Gateway is actually a solar reshake stargate. So yeah, I'm going to go into more of this on Patreon if that's interesting to you. But I'm going to switch gears a little bit. And I did take some notes, so I'm going to check the notes. Wow, I took a lot of notes. I kept also, when I made the note, mental plane expansion, third eye miasma, I was feeling like a disintegration, kind of like when I was speaking on like removing the plaque, if you will, or the miasma, or transmuting it, you know, working with whatever you work with. Some of you may feel connected to the violet flame, the ultraviolet flame. I keep getting emerald, so you may be really connecting with like emerald green frequency. Yeah, the word like dissolve or disintegration was really coming through. And again, like using those flames to like disintegrate whatever is ready to be transmuted. You may be seeing repeating 3s and 4s. That was also coming through. Okay. I also kept hearing Elysium or Elysian fields. And there's also the Elaysa Sun or Elaysa Code in the Ascension Glossary. I'm going to read a little bit of both because they do feel connected, but according to Wikipedia, Elysium, otherwise known as the Elysian Fields, Ancient Greek, or Elysian Plains or Elysian Realm, Elysian, is a conception of the afterlife that developed over time and was maintained by some Greek religious and philosophical sects, sects, and cults. It was initially separated from the Greek underworld, the realm of Hades. Only mortals related to the gods and other heroes could be admitted past the river Styx, Styx. Later, the conception of who could enter was expanded to include those chosen by the gods, the righteous, and the heroic. They would remain at the Elysian fields after death to live a blessed. Some of you may say blessed be. I don't say that, but I just accidentally said it. To live a blessed and happy afterlife and include in whatever they had enjoyed in life. This is also a very similar concept to, the word just escapes my mind. Devachan just came to me. Devachan. Compound word, Sanskrit deva, gods, and the Tibetan word chan, wily, ken, is the dwelling of the gods, quote, according to the original teachings of Theosophy as formulated by Helena Blavatsky or H.P. Blavatsky. So some of you may be feeling called to Theosophy, or maybe that's something that you already explore. In Theosophy, Devachan is regarded as the place where most souls go after death, where desires are gratified, corresponding to the Christian belief in heaven. However, Devachan is a temporary, intermediate state before the soul's eventual rebirth into the physical world. There are a few other ideologies or names for similar realms, if you will. So some of you could be tapping into this in some way. There is another word that I'm feeling, and for some reason it's not coming through at the moment, so I will see if it pops in. Okay, I'm going to read the Elaysa Code. The Elasean currents, this is from the Ascension Glossary, carry intricate orchestral, musical masterpieces of solar female Christos, Sophia celestial songs, which are only heard by those with developed Sophianic sonar, water acoustic templates. Okay, so the other day I kept hearing the phrase hydrocurrent plasma. I think it was that. Hydroplasmic current. That sounds right. And I kept feeling like there was like water in my ears. If you came from there, honestly, I can't remember. That might have been on Patreon, actually. Overflow on Patreon. So this is such a beautiful weaving because there's a visual on this page called White Sun of the Roses. And it's a gold rose, sort of with this like diamond white light, golden, like Sophianic pearlescent sort of mixture. So any of those colors can be significant. If you've ever had any experiences with, your clairaudience, of course the mental plane expansion includes that as well. So your sight, your hearing, could be one or both, depending on your connection. You may have, or in the future, have experiences where you hear celestial spheres, the tones, chanting, music in any form. The Sophianic sonar, water acoustic templates. I'm so drawn to that phrase. So, sonar. There was a transmission where I was talking about I think they came through as the Lumen, bipedal wolf beings that I had these really intense astral experiences with, and they were showing me the way I channel, and not just me, but it came through my personal channel, but it was obviously not just about me, and the connection to sonar, and so I'll have to try and see where I which transmission that is in, but I did talk about that before, and it seems to be connected to this energy right here. Some of you could have experiences with or just be really drawn to like white wolves with like really intense blue eyes, or one blue eye and one green eye. I'm seeing that come through as well. I've had really intense dreams with that being as well. Okay, I'm going to keep reading. Which comes when having a direct loving relationship with the Cosmic Mother and deep reverence for the solar feminine principle. The Elaysa Code corresponds directly to the many layers of Krystal Cathedrals. Krystal, and I was talking about crystals and that dream I had in about France and this like sacred ground, and the word cathedral just like really popped out at me and that image in the dream like came through so strongly, that are being built through every dimensional plane in the Albion Lightbody. Wow, I love that the Albion Lightbody just weaved right in. I had no idea that that was going to come together like that. So magical. The Elaysa fields are that which give access to the individual central nervous system to run the crystal tri-wave currents that open into aurora timelines or other organic ascension timelines that serve that individual unique highest expression. Oh, and I kept seeing the number 23, which is like my highest expression or high self number. So some of you could really feel like you are either working to get into that space, or some of you may feel like you are entering that. We're all on different wavelines, timelines and waves, and or some of us may be in sync. So there is no wrong or right here. Just there's something about like the Judgment card and tarot coming through, and just like honest inventory, just to check in with yourself. I'm going to read a little more, because thus there is an Elaysa code in the Elaysian currents that appear to be currents. That word current keeps coming through as well. That appear to be a crystalline liquid vapor structure. Wait, okay. And then it says in parenthesis tone, to tone with Elaysa. So you can use Elaysa, E-L, all capital, space L-A-Y, capital S-A, as a toning or vocal practice. Sing it, tone it, however you want to work with it. That surrounds the myelin sheath of the nervous system in order to attract the genetic bond made with the eternal spiritual body that is formed from out of the Rasha layers. Okay, so the Rasha body, the dark matter template, the instruction sets, sort of like if you think of the soil, if you go into the soil where you can't quite, you look up on the ground and you know the soil's under there, but you may not see it. You can think of the Rasha body like this. It's like when you plant a seed, and each seed is going to bloom in its own way, or some of them may not bloom, but they bloom under the ground in the soil. And to me, that is like similar to the Rasha body. And that was coming up for a while, and now this Elaysa code is like blooming, and it's like this gold rose in the picture. And I didn't even realize I was talking about the rose lineages, and yeah, here you go. So gold roses can be significant, roses in general. And so much in this last paragraph. Okay, so the aurora timelines, the elemental re-encryption, all of this is like really just birthing through each other. And again, that highest expression or high self integration just feels so potent right now whenever you find this. I'm recording it in 2025, I think. I just forgot the year. So whenever you find this, it's very timeless. Now, the Elaysian code in the Elaysian currents that appear to be a crystalline liquid vapor structure. I'm reading that again because at some point in the last year or two, I had this dream about a crystalline vapor. And I absolutely recorded that somewhere in my YouTube transmissions. And I go into more detail about that, but I had never seen it come up before in the Ascension Glossary. So that seed, if you will, was planted, and it is now blooming. And this is showing me that those of you who have also planted certain seeds or had certain seeds planted, there's starting to be a blooming effect. I'm pausing because it surrounds the myelin sheath of the nervous system, and the nervous system regulation, restoration has been also coming through especially the last few videos or audios, like so strongly. And I talk about a sheath release, and when I first, experienced that. It came through my channel, and I like really doubted it because I never heard of it before. I mean, I'm not saying that I invented it. I'm just saying like it came through naturally. And so, I really sat with that for a long time and been practicing with it. And so the fact that it came out here, like in conjunction with everything else that has been weaving together, yeah. So I've been thinking about recording soon, like an astral sheath release, another guided astral journey. So if anyone's interested in that, let me know. And then it talks about in order to attract the genetic bond made, with the eternal spiritual body that is formed from out of the Rasha layers. Yeah. Genetic bond. That just keeps reminding me of telomeres. Some of you can start feeling connected to researching about telomeres, like the caps or the ends of our DNA strands that some researchers are now linking to aging or lack of aging. The longer the telomere, they say the better. And I remember that I was going through this phase where I was just like craving carrots so much, and then I wound up learning more about telomeres, and in my research at that exact time, synchronistically, it said that carrots were actually really supposed to be helpful for the expansion of telomeres. And I was like, oh, amazing. And there was something about the blood too, and I kept like cutting myself, not on purpose, like accidentally. And then there was something about the blood coming through and the connection to telomeres. So yeah, there were a lot of synchronistic things leading up when I was diving into telomeres. This is probably in like 2020 area, something like that, about 5 years ago. I'm not sure why that time is coming through, but I do talk a lot about the Aurora timelines and the Aurora beings, the next harmonic universe, and that word bleeding is coming through again. So whenever I see like the Aurora lights, it's like a hint or a clue or remembrance of the Aurora re-encryption, like bleeding into our dimensional universe, or however you want to phrase it. There's something called the Elaysa Crystal Cathedral Network. I will get to that. This activation process is focused on coding the entire bioneurological system with a rainbow of liquid plasmas. That I was talking about the plasma fields, the rainbow plasma fields, and here they are. I had no idea they were going to come through. Activating the vagus nerve, VAGUS. Vagus nerve regulation is so important if that is something that calls to you. If you're already doing that, just please take this as like a nod that like what you're doing is really helping. With a protective sheath covering that opens the central nervous system to run the Elaysian currents that connect the neurology with the Elaysa Crystal Cathedral network that is being anchored in the planet. Right, so this is on a planetary level as well. Grid work, the organic living light grids. Whoo! My ears just like totally pressure shifted for a moment, and I was in like a stillness. Like I heard nothing and everything like at the same time is kind of the way I can describe it. Okay, so the Elaysa Crystal Cathedral network. The Elaysian currents carry intricate orchestral, why can't I say words today? Orchestral music masterpieces of solar female Christos Sophia celestial songs, which are only heard by those with developed Sophianic sonar water acoustic templates, which comes when having a direct loving relationship with the cosmic mother. I already read that, but I didn't realize it was the same thing, so maybe it just needed to be read again. And as I was reading that, I almost was like shaking. I don't know if you heard it in my voice, and like stuttering, and the crown of my head just started to tingle, and like I just felt like a lightness just like wash over me. I feel like my voice is almost like shaky or something. So this is for some of you, not all of you. You may be like having bouts of almost like your nervous system when you tap into some of this energy. You may feel like very ungrounded or imbalanced, or like it might be almost too much. I didn't mean to laugh. It's not, I don't know why I'm laughing, but I want to keep reading, but I think I'm going to save the rest of this for overflow. Anyway, so if that is you, like I'm just tripping over my words here. If that is you, and I just started to feel a little lightheaded, just please know that you can go at this at your own pace. You can work with your own filters and blueprint your settings to allow for the energy to come in smoother. Make sure that you are grounding as much as you can. And I know that phrase is getting very overused, but there are so many ways to do this. If you need any tips, I do talk about this in other transmissions. There's so much on the internet right now that's helpful. So just really use and practice discernment of what works for you. But I am just, in case this is helpful, I am seeing like very like root vegetables really help me. So that could be something that perhaps you'd like to do as well, or could help you. I just heard tubulars and I already mentioned water. But just really breath, coming back to the breath, slowing down the breath. Sometimes I like to lay on a flat surface, like on a bed or something, and like let my head just kind of hang off. That really, I just love that. Like just to go upside down a little bit, that really helps me. But yeah, just like laying in child's pose, just whatever it is that helps you, with that nervous system, rest, relaxation, steadiness, as well as, vagus nerve exercises. You can look those up if you don't already know them. Yeah. Okay. So playful, childlike energy. I heard the phrases playful and childlike in the last day or so. I'd say over 5 to 7 times. So that repetitive type of experience for me is usually a collective message. So, excuse me. Yeah. Releasing. So, whatever this melting that has been preserved, a preservation that is melting, is sort of restoring your childlike, playful nature. Now, some of you may already be very tapped into that, so it may not be as obvious, but there's just going to be a freeing up in some way. You're being encouraged to tap into that more. And if you're already doing it, then yeah, this is just a confirmation that it is being seen and heard and felt. Authority was also coming through, the idea of inner authority, as well as like perhaps you were someone who maybe has had like a defiance with authority, a little bit of a rebellious nature. So you can just take that as a confirmation. There may be a little bit of just observation, feeling, decisions around authority. So if there's anything that sort of comes up that still kind of like sets off an emotional trigger, there could just be a little bit more to sit with around that and or journal about, or if you've already done this, it could just be like a reclamation, like reclaiming your inner authority and like making decisions from that place or that state. Cinnamon has been coming through. Sweet Like Cinnamon from Lana Del Rey has been playing in my head for days, so there could be something there for you. I have to say, like, there were certain moments over the last like 6 months, that song, I would just listen to it if I was feeling just like any sort of like maybe a little bit unhopeful. I would just put that song on and it really helped. So whether it's that song or just something else, like when you have these moments that maybe you just feel like you need a little bit of a switch to turn on, whether it's a song that you like or a certain genre of music, a certain drink you like to make, there's just something about really utilizing your tools in that way whenever you have any moments that come up of like anxiety or doubt. And if you're not experiencing anxiety or doubt, that's amazing. But, it could just be like a playful way to tune into that, like, a word isn't coming through. It just sort of feels like a liberated feeling is what I want to say. And spiritually, because I was smelling specifically cinnamon toast crunch the other day, and no one was around. So sometimes I just smell that. I'll smell something. There is a proper name for it, Claire something. My previous mentor used to call it Claire Smellians, and that just cracks me up. So every time I've tried to remember the proper name, I just hear Claire Smellians. Like I can never retain the proper name. Anyway, if anyone remembers, please feel free to share. But cinnamon, this is like the spiritual meaning. A warm and comforting spice is often associated with prosperity, abundance, good energy in many spiritual practices, and it's believed to attract positive financial outcomes and stability. So you could be calling it stability. And when I said that, my computer just went black. So yeah, just like I was saying before, it could feel like things are kind of dropping off. Like when I was talking about losing I'm using the word losing, but I know it's not really a loss. Dropping in certain numbers, but just continuing to trust the process. And I actually had just run out of some sort of like hyaluronic acid that I had, and I really didn't want to use that. I really wanted to use aloe anyway, but at the time, it's a long story. I just got that because I was kind of on the go and didn't have access to aloe at the moment. And I was talking to my friend about it, and we both were saying that when like an esthetician looks at our skin, we both are more on the dry side, and hyaluronic acid can help. And when I looked up some more natural things, it said aloe is like the more organic aspect component that hyaluronic acid does. Like aloe does that, has a similar effect. Anyway, and so I was like, yeah, I just really like want to get my hands on some aloe. And she's like, oh my God, just use my aloe plant. She has like an overgrown aloe plant right now. And I was like, are you sure? And she was like, please. Like, so I did. And I blended some aloe, and I had to really learn. I need to practice on cutting the aloe properly because it was hilarious to watch. So if you are someone who wants to work with aloe and you try to cut it at first and you're like, oh my God, this is crazy, like, I'm with you. But practice. Practice. Anyway, so I blended the aloe, and I just felt called to add cinnamon and some honey. So I blended the aloe, cinnamon, and honey, and each has their own effect. And I made a blue lotus, an ORMUS GOLD tincture that I preserved in brandy. And so I added some of that to help preserve the aloe. And the honey also is supposed to help preserve. And I will list below, if anyone's curious, if you're not familiar, or if you just want to see another perspective of some of the effects of each of the ingredients. But anyway, yeah, and I used it on my skin, and I really could feel, like my skin just felt really good afterwards. So yeah, maybe some of you are getting into some more like organic skincare, or maybe that's something you've been doing for a long time, or maybe something you'll be called to. There's also a I'm hearing the phrase like make lemons out of lemonade, because for like a few minutes I was like, oh, it just seemed like I wasn't gonna be able to access these things, and then I realized it was like all already here, So there could be something like that too. It doesn't have to be, of course, related to aloe, cinnamon, and honey, but just that idea. And it, like, yesterday I set the intention that I really wanted to do something of a creative outlet. Like, it felt like it just was like brimming through me. So the fact that this just came together so easily today, yeah, it was really nice. I did take a little bit of a short like video or a photo. Maybe I'll insert that of me like piping the mixture into the bottle. So yeah, just being called to utilize your creative outlets. And again, if you're already doing this, you can just take that as confirmation. Oh, I had written down back to King Tut. So Tut, the name, particularly in the context of Egyptian history, refers to the boy pharaoh Tutankhamun. I may be butchering that. Tutankhamun. And of course, I think of like Amun-Ra when I read that. Also known as King Tut in Egyptian language, Tut means image or representation, which reflects the ancient Egyptians' belief in the power of images. The name Tutankhamun, no, I said that, wow. I'm just not going to try right now. Meaning living image of Amun. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Was given to the pharaoh to reflect his connection to the Egyptian god Amun. A-M-U-N. Which, interestingly, now that I'm putting this together, I was talking about the Ra, like Amun-Ra, and then we were talking about the Ra. Hold on. The Ra center. The individual light body that has been activated, the entire solar plexus area, reconfigures the mental body layers, which kept coming through, like I said, so strongly, into a golden solar gate energy vortice. I don't know why I keep hesitating with that word, which is called the Ra center. Okay, so now I'm starting to see the connection between why Tut was coming through and linking through the Ra center. So maybe some of you are feeling called to explore more about King Tut, or maybe you already have, maybe you feel a connection to that. But I'm sort of being taken to all the kings in tarot, like the King of Pentacles, King of Cups, King of Swords, King of Wands, you know, and the Emperor, kind of expressing all the kings. And I was talking about like authority, inner authority, masculine magic. So I'm starting to see, you know, it's kind of like they're showing me like the King Arthur timeline came through, and then King Tut with the Egyptian pantheon, and then King Arthur through like Avalon, the Avalonian time. So it's like they're kind of showing me the equivalent of the kings again in tarot, and like each archetype or, you know, planetary aspect or geographical. I was about to say geological. That could be for someone, but geographical locations. Yeah. So very interesting correspondence. Well, that's only 2 kings, not 4, but we'll see if other king images come through. Oh, I really love that, how that came together. I did just record the other day. I was speaking on a trickle-in effect, sweetness, surrendering to the sweetness. And so I just realized like the component of cinnamon coming through and honey. So there may be something in there for you if you feel called to that transmission. Vibrational upgrade is another phrase that was coming through. And the flashes of white light yesterday that I was seeing, I see them very often. And there was absolutely like a stronger emanation, again, bleeding through. They were so intense and my eyes were open, you know, it's just like catching them. And I would say there were at least 3 to 5 that I saw yesterday. So you could be experiencing that, or maybe soon will be. Or if you've already been experiencing that, like I said, it may be coming through more strongly or potently. I also kept seeing 333 yesterday. You could be seeing threes. And the phrase energetic alignment was coming through. I will place the 3 runic symbols in the thumbnail, so if you want to look at them. I also saw the initials SAH yesterday somewhere, and I wrote that down. Agartha, the Agartha networks. Shambhala was the other realm when I was talking about Devachan. Shambhala could be very, very potent for some of you. You may feel very connected to that energy. I'm not going to go too deep into that at the moment, but I'm sure I will at some point. Or if that's something you want to dive deeper into, please feel free to share. You may just feel a call to receive from these energetic planes. You may already be doing this, and if so, the song, what's her name? She's an Albanian singer. Levitating, you can fly away with me tonight. I'm not sure where that song is coming through, but there is something about, like maybe reaching states of like bliss. Maybe you're having dreams of levitation. Maybe some of you are practicing levitation, and there's just something about that coming through. Some of you may like Harry Potter. I'm hearing, I don't know I can hear it in my head, but I don't remember what they say, like Olgan Livioso or something like that. That could be for someone. I just saw 101 on the timer. Okay, so I am going to link the runic meanings below in the description box, like I said, along with the skin. Oh, by the way, the stuff that I made, the aloe, the cinnamon, the honey, and my tincture, I also like saved a little bit of it and then drank it. So yeah, there could be something there too about like making your own concoctions. That could be really potent for you right now if it's something you're called to or that you're already doing. And I just saw 222 on the timer. Lots of numbers. The phrase resequencing, numerical resequencing. That could be for someone. Okay. For those of you who make lists or like to make lists, I have something that I called a glow up list. Speaking of like the raw center and all of that like golden energy, glowing up from within, and then like having that show up externally. So if any of you already have like a glow up list of things you want to experience, it could really be anything, things that you experience internally that you write down. For me also, I add like, for example, I've been wanting to make like a face serum, and so I've had that on my glow up list for a while, and then today it just sort of came together, things like this. Like I haven't had a professional facial in a long time, and I've been really excited to have one again. So I just write it down, things like this that I want to have done or experience. Yeah, and a glow up list. It's just really like helps keep me inspired. I have so many lists though, so yeah. Do you like lists as well? Okay. dragonflies. The other day, there were just so many dragonflies around, and one of them that kept sort of, it was like I kept seeing a bunch of them, but then I just kept seeing one golden dragonfly, and I just kept hearing like golden opportunity. And for me, dragonflies generally symbolize a closing of a karmic loop or a karmic cycle, especially connected to like ancestral karmic loops and patterns and ancestral lineage. I just heard reproduction. So maybe some of you are trying to reproduce, but this will only be probably for a select few people, but a message I've been getting for a while that I have never shared on here that I believe is that if you have been trying to reproduce in some way, and it hasn't been happening, I feel like there's been these like karmic loops and karmic cycles that have been being closed out. Talking about like to come into your highest expression, to bring through a more karmically clear ancestral line, or to carry on, kind of like coming from a fresh, clean slate. And I feel like whenever you're finding this, let's just say that the energy is becoming more potent. Of course, please always like do your due diligence and use your discernment, but yeah, that will be for probably a few of you. I have had dreams the last few nights about birth. Like my sister gave birth to a baby boy in the dream, and my friend was pregnant and outsourcing her birth. So of course some of this can be literal, but also birth can come through symbolically in different ways. And some of those, one moment, I'm just reading. Yeah, it can symbolize new beginnings, completion of a phase, or emotional growth, to reflect your internal processes and readiness for a new venture. So yeah, maybe some of you are also having similar dreams, but there was this aspect also coming through about the dragonflies, and when I was seeing like multiple karmic loops that were being closed, and then again this one golden dragonfly representing this like golden opportunity. Some of you have been maybe calling this in. And I wanted to just say and add in, because of all this rain, I had written down like what did I write down? Transmission, rain, visualizing purity within the rain and the water within our own bodies. So yeah, I was just called to like sit with the rain. I actually did a transmission one time called Violet Rain, so there could be something in there for you. But I was just sort of like kind of scry in the rain and let my eyes get really heavy and like imagine the rain coming in purified, because you know a lot of the rain is hitting like buildings and just things that hold some toxin. So it's just like putting that purity back into the condensation, into the ecosystem, into our own bodies. So if that's something you feel called to or that you already do, you can just take this as a like I see you type of thing, or that it's actually rippling out. Speaking of sweetness, for some reason I felt guided to rewatch Eat, Pray, Love. I don't know why, but I did. And in that movie they talk about the Italian phrase that means the sweetness of doing nothing. Yeah, it's an Italian phrase in philosophy. Il dolce far niente. I know I'm butchering that, but the sweetness of doing nothing. So that could be relevant for someone, but yesterday it was like the perfect day, and I didn't even realize that it like set me up for it. It was like I watched that movie, and then like a day or two later I got the opportunity to do that, and you know, just like listen to the rain and just be visualize, daydream. Then I started having like multiple visions come through. So yeah, that could be coming up for some of you, or maybe it just did. Also, wabi-sabi, a Japanese philosophy, has been coming through. wabi-sabi. WABI-SABI. In traditional Japanese aesthetics, wabi-sabi centers on the acceptance of transience and imperfection. It is often described as the appreciation of beauty that is imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete. And it's prevalent in many forms of Japanese art. I know particularly like the gold-filled like pottery. And I was talking about that like golden energy. I was talking about like ORMUS gold, liquid gold. So much of that coming through. Ikebana, Japanese flower arranging or floral arranging in general, has also been like really strong this week around myself and multiple people. So there's something about flowers, flower arranging coming through. You know, there's another Ikigai is another Japanese philosophy coming through. A lot of philosophies coming through. Ikigai, I believe, roughly translates to purpose. So there's something about, like deepening the feeling of purpose. And this doesn't just have to be like on a grand scale, although it absolutely can be. But just fulfilling your life with the feeling of purpose and letting that like emanate through, whether you're sweeping or you're like performing surgery or you are having a cup of tea in a public place and give someone a smile. Like there's just something about like infusing purpose into your daily life as well, that I'm hearing just like to watch it wash through and show up in ways that are like surprising and unexpected. So beautiful. And actually, I just saw 111 on the timer, and back to the runes that came through, one of them was about purpose. So also, when I was seeing all those dragonflies, I was like, okay, like please send me a sign to know that this is like not just, okay, I'm walking through, maybe it's dragonfly season, but like really let me know. And then when I went back to the apartment that I was staying, I had 2 blackbird visits in a row where they came and like sat and looked in the window and just started like cawing. And then right after that, a dragonfly came, landed right after the bird and just like stared into the window. And I was like, okay, that works. So yeah, you could be having deepening interactions with like nature, animals, insects, birds, bugs, bees, the whole thing. And right under that, I've just realized I had written bird visits, but the word virus auto-corrected. And then I had a dream actually about parasites 2 days in a row. One was a red parasite and one like a parasitic entity and like a worm. And then the other one was sort of like a black one. But interestingly, the first time that I had the dream about the red parasitic being, it was like chopped in half and on the floor. Sorry, this is getting a little gross. And then the other one was like trying to enter my body through my pointer finger, which is interesting because for me, that represents the air element or the mental plane. And we're talking so much about the mental plane. And I caught it and it was like kind of fighting me and I had to like rip it out of my finger. And it was like I could feel the pain, like through the dream state. But I got it out. So some of you, this will be more symbolic or like parasitic energy around you that has been maybe like draining you in some way. It feels like you are transmuting that and continuing to be your own like source of light, essentially recharging your own energy, rejuvenating yourself. And some of you, there's a lot going around about deworming and talking about like detoxing and stuff. So I don't want to like freak anyone out, but it's just what's coming through. So if you feel connected to that, if not, just let it fly. But it's been coming through very strongly. So I just wanted to share that. And Dan Winters, I always forget, if it's winter or winters, but some of you may be familiar with him. He talks a lot about like the auric field, centripetal implosion, and parasitic. So basically, if you're not generating your own source from within, then to him, you're basically parasitic. Like if you need to get your source, your energetic glow, light externally, then it's essentially like a parasitic energy. And that can sound really like scary or, but I think a lot of us incarnate into a very existing matrix, if you will, that reinforces that. So if you're someone who is aligning with this, I hope that you can like come at this from a place of like sovereignty and like working towards sovereignty. And yeah, well, all of us go through like the, maybe victim shaming, blaming, but like, I hope that this can help you if you're not already to like transmute that. And again, that like inner authority, emperor, masculine magic is coming through of like quite literally self-empowerment, but also like, auric field empowerment and like being your own light source. And I kept getting visions again. Sometimes this comes through of like, bioluminescent like jellyfish or the deep sea beings who have literally become their own light source to adapt to the darkness. And we were talking about like the Rasha body and the dark matter template and how it's now these instruction sets are blooming into the Albion Lightbody, like the rainbow or pastel light source. So the plasma light fields. It's just like beautiful. I know this is a longer transmission, but I could feel this building for days. And the way that it's just kind of coming through together is, it's really, really beautiful. So thank you for listening. But back to the runes. So there was Ansus, I hope I'm saying that correctly, Othala, and Raidho. Othala was the rune that I had a vision of, and then Ansus and Raidho are the ones that I saw in the clouds. And I do have, like they tell their own little story, those three runes together. And I have them right here, the Further Arc runes. So Raidho can mean wagon, travel by land, momentum, rhythm, journey. Rahidho. Rahidho, I feel like I'm saying that wrong. Rahidho is a journey and the power that keeps us moving forward towards our chosen destination. According to Thorson, Raidho, I keep saying Raidho, is the channeling of force according to natural laws along the right road, lending to the right result. Love that. It is the conscious decision. And I was talking about earlier, like to decide, to achieve something and the discipline to carry it out. The rhythm found when your forward movement is in harmony with your purpose. I knew one of them referenced purpose, so that just also, I did not plan that. And then Ansus, the summary, Odin and the ancestral gods, mouth, breath, and communication. So yeah, throat expansion, high heart, throat and heart coming together, the thymus gland. Ansus is linked to Odin and the ancestral gods, right? And we were talking about like the gods I didn't even realize coming through in like Devachan and that sort of energy in the Elysian fields. It represents two of the gifts given to primal man, and the primal sound fields are coming through by the gods. Owned, breath, and Odhar, mental activity. Ugh, see all this like mental energy coming through. It is the rune of communication and the spoken word. And I love how the feminine or like mother archetype of the sound fields coming through, and I think it was Elaysa sort of toning practice. Anyway, a reminder to take a deep breath before speaking and to listen as much as we talk. So that was that rune. And then the Othala rune. Okay. I clicked on Othala and it took me not to Othala, so maybe we can all just take a pause, a nice breath while I'm looking for Othala. And here it is. Okay, Othala. Ancestral property, wisdom, inherent talent. That is really standing out to me. So stand up could be relevant for someone, and homecoming. And in one of the Ascension Glossary links, it was talking about like a spiritual coming home through the cathedral, Krystal, Albion Cathedrals, I think it was. Forgive me. Whew, third chakra opening, or throat center. Elaysa Crystal Cathedral Network. There we go. Okay, ancestral property, wisdom, inherent talent, homecoming. And I've been talking so much about like spiritual inheritance. And I've been feeling that so potent the last few weeks. Othala is our birthright. It represents all the material and spiritual goods that we were each born into. Some of you, this will just be for a few of you, may have like gone on birthright to Israel or something similar to a different country. Or maybe you're feeling called to like work with an organization that sort of does that kind of thing, or start your own. That will only be for a few of you, but yeah, I'm hearing like Shabbos. Okay. I'm also seeing like SS. It represents all the material and spiritual goods that we were each born into. Yeah, and I was hearing like synagogue, right? It's like any place of dwelling. I mean, I don't personally go to those sort of places myself, but like the dream that I had on like a sacred ground. So whatever that means to you, you know, it could be a little corner in your room, like an altar. It's just like this idea of like for me, it's just going within my own self, especially because I'm a bit nomadic right now and I don't have like a place I'm in all the time. So I've learned to just like create that wherever in my own field. So yeah, that could be for some of you as well. But when I had my own apartment, or I had a condo, I did have a few different spaces that I started to practice to do that, which I think then gave me the confidence to sort of make that like a moving, you know, what do they say, like a moving prayer, like an energetic imprint and template of like a moving ritual. Othala is our birthright. I'm reading this again. It represents all the material and spiritual goods that we were each born into. These are the building blocks that we have to work with in life. Othala is also a connection to the past, an inheritance, our home, sense of belonging, and community. So beautiful. So yeah, it really does feel like this homecoming, like I was saying, your highest expression. Some of you may be actually like moving or calling in a home, a new home. Again, all of those dragonflies, closing out those karmic loops and allowing the spiritual inheritance to shine through. You could also feel connected to like the shining ones. And when I was seeing those white flashes of light yesterday, I was guided to close my eyes and I saw like a blue orb flash. And I had two visions in a row, and one of them was a couple walking down a driveway, and behind them was this like beautiful home with like sort of windy stairs. They weren't like completely spiral. They were just kind of like a bit windy. And then inside the home, like the second vision was inside, and there was like a white headboard and or a white mantle, like marble was the mantle, and a white door, a lot of white purification. Again, that diamond ray integration, opening up the door led me into that bedroom. So like metaphorically, the bedroom can often reflect your inner world, personal space, and sense of security. It can symbolize a relationship with yourself, your emotions, your personal boundaries. And, interesting, you can also like interpret your own personal feelings about your own bedroom and see if there's any deeper messages for you. And any other, so like, let's say you've been, I don't know, creating a vision board or visualizing a home you want to live in. Of course, the home can represent our physical body too. So your own physical vessel. And you can take any of those elements. Also, the word intimacy is coming up, and just allow for, like I said, if you've been visualizing, like, what are you visualizing? Maybe look up certain colors and what they mean. Like, there can be lots of interpretation if you feel called to go deeper. But yeah, I am going to wrap it up here. Thank you so very much. I was not planning on recording today, so this was like a nice surprise that the day just sort of opened up for me to have the time to do this. With the rain in the background, it's kind of calmed down now, but it has been like significantly decreasing as the time has gone on. And the sky has gotten a little bit brighter. Okay. Thank you very much.